again, big military push here from NASA and the government, and then, like I said, the radiologist, if you ever go to ER in the middle of the night, you get a CT scan. It's usually not the radiologist in the hospital. Usually it's a radiologist in another state somewhere, probably another time zone, that's reading your CT scan until the radiologist team shows up the next day. So that's kind of a big field, and not very many people know about that. Next slide. The history of telemedicine, with the internet back in the 90s, and then the adoption of like smartphones back in the early 2000s. And, now almost everybody has a smartphone. You have a lot more tech savvy, and access, and actually more demand. Next slide. Prior to coronavirus, prior to the pandemic, telemedicine was still kind of considered to be not quite a fringe thing, but just hadn't gotten large scale adoption. There was a lot of pushback from some of the medical boards, pushback from the medical associations, pushback from the doctors themselves to adopt it. But kind of coronavirus kind of swept aside all those concerns and barriers, and it just kind of forced a lot of doctors to adopt it. Next slide. So you went from 18% of physicians using telehealth now up to about half, and probably counting. I mean, again, early on during the pandemic, there was a reluctance to adopt it, but now it seems like it's either you do or die with telemedicine in terms of the number of physicians or the percentage of physicians having to adopt it. I would say it's probably closer to 90%, maybe 100%. There are probably still some specialists and other types of physicians that just maybe would rather retire, or just rather take a extended vacation. But I think that number is probably much higher than 50% now. And then the demand has also gone up. You've got PlushCare. They're up by 70% in terms of demand. Amwell, which is a competitor to Teladoc, they're up by almost 160%. And at the same time, the drop of in-person appointments has dropped considerably as well. 60%, 70, 80 by some estimates, depending on the parts of the country. Probably more now, since the pandemic has reached wider areas of the USA, and also spread throughout.